Good day, folks. I'd just like to share some points that Bedini had here. I think he pretty well knew it all along, but didn't want to flat out say everything that we can do with the one wire. So let me play some important points and my reflections as we go through them here. So without further ado, here's what he has to say here.
Stubblefield was just a farmer who would just find his way down to the local railroad station.
So Stubblefield,
and read publications from Electrical Wireless.
as I mentioned
So
before
he had
here,
no formal really background in electricity at all. And when you don't have the formal background, things work. In other words, here's a guy that invents an earth cell, lights carbon arc lights, runs motors, has the telephone running on no energy whatsoever except for what's in the ground, and is doing this for miles. The technique was that the earth supplied all the energy that was needed. And since you're modulating the radiant energy,
there we go,
the voice
modulating
appears at
the
other
field
end.
again.
He did it by sticking two rods in the ground. And that powered his telephone.
He used it for
That
communications.
was it.
We're trying to use it for energy
So
instead.
he built a battery, what he called an earth battery, which was copper and iron wire. And he actually put this battery in the ground, and he used that as the source for his telephone.
Looks like displacement current modulation to
So
me.
one earth battery at this end, one earth battery at that end, right? But you see
The heavy side
Stubblefield
component.
in the pictures and everything, as here's his earth battery, here's his transmitter, okay, and his kids, he's out, a mile out, he sticks two rods into the ground, the guy picks the receiver up, and there's his kid playing the harmonic on it. Now, where'd the energy come from? You see, we got to define the electricity. Stubblefield's electricity was radiant or etheric electricity. There was no form of current in Stubblefield's electricity.
Sounds very familiar to me.
You never see in any of Stubblefield's demonstrations a current meter, because there is no current. Negative energy is radiant.
As I've been saying myself.
When he talks about negative energy, he's talking about energy that's opposite of the energy we know. These are all negative energies as far as the energy that we have. There's no mysticism here.
As I've been saying as well.
Negative energy is radiant energy, or what Tesla termed as radiant energy, or what is termed energy from the vacuum.
John got into radiant energy. He got in eventually into Stubblefield's work, and he was the only person I know of to this day. I'm not saying somebody else may not have done it. I'm saying he's the only one I know of that actually replicated Stubblefield's work. And that is something else, because Stubblefield was a phenomenon. And John uses the same term for that part of it as Tesla did. He calls it radiant energy, just like Tesla did in his radiant energy patents. And what he means by the term radiant energy is a combination of energy while it's still in the primary state in space, hasn't interacted with charge or mass yet. And he's also including negative energy in it. It can be either positive or negative. His term radiant energy actually means precursor state energy.
In other words, it doesn't follow our conventional science.
Of course not.
It can go through things that are dielectrics.
I've noticed that myself.
Instead of wires, it may appear in a dielectric.
I've
It
demonstrated
can
that
melt
as well.
plastic.
It did that to me sometimes.
It can use plastic as the conductor.
Confirmed that could work.
Any circuits that we build, the engineers are going to want to get rid of it in the circuit so
That's
that
the
any of the
problem.
circuits don't just burn out. You can see it show up on the scope. You can't measure it with a standard meter because
It's not electron.
the standard test equipment is only going to measure electron flow. It's stuff that's thrown out of the
We're
system.
doing current displacement flow between
Stuff
high
that's
potential to the
wasted.
ground.
See, what you're measuring with the meters is everything that the circuit is wasting. So that's in terms of heat. That's in terms of current flow. That's in terms of everything that looks perfectly normal to you.
See, we're not using traditional
Because
current flow
these are the
here.
instruments we have.
The pipe carrying the energy to this load leaked all the way, and I didn't get as much over to the load as I put in.
Traditional circuits, yeah.
Sorry, I'm under unit, particularly since I got it in a closed
It's a
circuit.
closed loop,
I'm killing
for
my
sure.
power source
That's
with
what
the
I've been
other half
saying
all
for
the
a
time.
while.
But negative energy is nature's beneficial grant to humankind and to the world. Negative energy works exactly backwards. It's the convergent
The
energy.
heavy side.
It's the energy that the environment is always trying to pour into any flow of negative energy going along the conducting path.
The heavy side flow along the
The
wire.
environment is trying to put more negative energy in there all the time. Free. You don't have to pay a thing for it. It's trying desperately to do that.
And that's what we need to take
Conductivity
advantage of,
now
folks.
is still a process of preventing change and
With the one
doing that
wire
waveguide
system.
and preventing any change.
The one
So
wire
the negative
system.
energy flowing, well, the conductivity will not allow any excess energy to flow in there. And so in this pipe, I will now get out pure conductor. At the other end, I'll get exactly what I put in, just like I did with positive energy. But again, it's not a perfect world, and the circuits are not perfect conductors. There are impedances. But now when I meet an impedance, what it does reduces the conductivity, reduce the wave guiding, which means some excess energy now crowds in here and converges in here, negative energy. Coming past that impedance, I have more than I'm putting in.
And here is my point about trying to keep the input trigger low.
We push the circuits with current flow in the front end because we have to do it that way to make it switch. So there's very little current being used, somewhere on the order of 300 milliamps.
That's his version, but
Not
yeah,
very much at all.
that's his point,
To
not
create
very
the
much.
switch. After that, nature supplies the energy in a radiant spike, which
As
is
long as you keep it under
can be
one
termed
wire.
either
Don't
radiant
close
energy
the loop.
or energy from the vacuum. It's an automatic thing that takes place with a coil of wire. Is exactly what our engineers do.
Aha,
They kill the dipole.
they closed the loop.
They short out the radiant
Bad, bad, bad.
and just use the current. And of course they measure the power then.
Of course, you can
In
measure
watts.
it. You can build it.
I'm the opposite. So you have to be able to steal that.
The radiant energy,
Yeah,
yeah.
see? Tesla gave up the idea of alternating current and went to pulse DC. That's where the power is. PWM. Pulse width modulation. You know, anything that you pulse, you can get an extreme amount of energy out of
High frequency, the better.
for a microsecond in time.